2.5 million years ago, Ko'ola volcano erupted near the windward side of Oahu. Over time, erosion from the natural elements caused a tremendous landslide. This landslide caused part of the crater of the Ko'ola volcano to give way and fall into the ocean. This major event caused for Kailua Bay to flood over what once was part of an active volcano. The ocean waters cascaded as far inward as the location of the current marsh of Kawainui. Over time, a sandbar started to form over the bay directly over a coral reef. This meant that when the ocean rose, the sand dune and the sandbars were created, ultimately leading to a separation of Kawainui Marsh and Kailua Bay. Kawainui Marsh is located on the island of Oahu in the ahupua'a of Ko'olaupoko, in the Kailua district. Kawainui is one of the largest wetlands in the Hawaiian Islands, being a total of 830 acres. With Kawainui being one of the largest wetlands or marshes in the Hawaiian Islands, it is only fitting that Kawainui was given a name that translates to the big or many waters. In fact, Kawainui Marsh was once bigger than it currently is today. Kawainui was once connected to Hamakua Marsh, which is another wetland in Kailua. There was once a floodplain that used to connect Ka'elepulu Pond, a freshwater lagoon in Kailua, to Kawainui Marsh. This floodplain is most commonly known today as Enchanted Lakes. Kawainui Marsh once supported a 400-acre freshwater fish pond, leading to the uses of land in the marsh as a primary food-producing area for the Hawaiian people living in the district up until the 20th century. Kawainui was thought to once house the largest native Hawaiian settlements due to the abundant resources in mullet, awa, and o'opu. The farmers, which were maka'ainana or commoners, would also grow crops of banana, sugarcane, dryland kalo, and sweet potato, with the most abundant of these crops being the irrigated lo'i. The ali'i or chiefs who ruled over the area would direct and divert water to agricultural systems such as lo'i or kalo patches. The walls that were created for the lo'i systems still stand today. The lo'i in this area is also thought to be some of the earliest agriculture fields of the Hawaiian Islands. The ruling ali'i were so skillful and unique at shifting the water in such a way that the Hawaiians were one of the only people in all of Polynesia to practice their directing of water in such a way. At one time, there was even 3 heiau in or around the marsh. Pahukini Heiau was dedicated to a Tahitian chief of the 14th century named Olopana. Holomokani Heiau was created for Paumakua, who was a navigational chief of the 10th century. Both Pahukini and Holomakani Heiau are located on the west side of the wetlands, while Ulupo Heiau was located on the east side of Kawainui. Ulupo Heiau was originally attributed to the Menehune. The importance of this particular heiau can be seen in the materials used to create the large structure. Rocks used to make the heiau have come from as far as 10 miles away in Kualoa. Over time, Ulupo Heiau was used by famous Oahu chiefs like Ka Kuihava in the 15th century and Ku'ali'i in the 17th century. This particular heiau was thought to have shifted from a mapele or an agriculture heiau, most likely dedicated to Huavahine, which was a protected spirit that assured an abundance of fish and the safety of the people in Kawainui. Over time, erosion and urbanization took its toll on the marsh. Sadly, Holomakani Heiau, dedicated to Paumakua, was destroyed before the 1930s. Thankfully, Pahukini and Ulupo Heiau remains still exist today. Invasive species of both plants and animals have become a huge problem for Kawainui, leading to the decline in both size and quality of the wetlands area. However, it is not the only in the invasive plants and animals that are to blame for the decline of Kawainui. The increase in human population in Kailua skyrocketed after World War II, leading to large amounts of development in Kailua. Even in recent years, there has been quite a few non-marsh activities that are very hazardous to Kawainui itself taking place along its borders. There are several accounts of cattle grazing taking place near the marsh, as well as an old landfill and green waste facility being fairly close to the marsh itself. With concrete ditches and paved roads being developed near Kawainui, there is nowhere for the water in the wetland to go after a large rain, causing for the marsh to flood over, causing damage to many streets and homes, especially in the case of the 1987 New Year's Eve flood. In 2005, Kawainui and its importance to the windward community of Oahu was recognized. The wetlands were designated as a wetland of international importance by the Erasmus Convention. This meant that Kawainui was recognized by an international treaty that identifies and protects some of the world's most important wetlands. Eventually, it was discovered that the marsh has a large effect on preserving Kailua Bay's water quality. Kawainui would store the runoff after heavy rainfalls by using it for surface water. This meant that the sediment would stay in the marsh rather than drift into Kailua Bay and terribly impacting the ecosystem there. Beyond water control, there are many other important aspects to Kawainui. For example, the wetlands support endangered native wildlife. For bird species that call Kawainui home are the alaiula, the Hawaiian moorhen, koloa, the Hawaiian duck, ai'o, Hawaiian stilt, and alai ki'oki'o, the Hawaiian coot, all of which have recently been listed on the endangered list. There is actually only one alien or non-native water bird found near the marsh, and that is the cattle egret. The wetland also houses many wintering shorebirds and migratory waterfowl birds, including the Canadian goose, northern pintail, and green-winged teal. There are cases of non-wetland birds seen around the area, such as the Eva bird, also known as the great frigate bird. Over time, state ownership was established of the marsh, leading to the marsh's first permanent state funding that was approved by the legislature. The Army Corps of Engineers, along with the Department of Land and Natural Resources, are working together to start restoration on Kawainui's restoration ponds for wetland birds. They are doing this in hopes to keep native endangered species of the birds to keep returning to the historical wetland. Even though Kawainui is being state-funded, many congressional leaders have spoken out about getting an increased federal funding for the marsh's development and restoration. Part of the restoration process for Kawainui also includes the restoring of rock wall for the lo'i and the removal of large trees that are either invasive or disrupt the ecosystem. The volunteers that work at Kawainui have plans to work on planting more sugarcane, breadfruit, kalo, and banana. Volunteers like Chuck Brills, who was once a teacher at Kamehameha Schools as a biologist, helps remove invasive and alien species and replace it with endemic plants. They have also created traps to capture mongoose and rats that eat the native birds and their eggs in hopes to see a rise in the native bird population. Many hours of research has gone into what other species once thrived in Kawainui. They found what types of plants were used for clothing, food, shelter, and medicine in early Hawaii, and began planting these native plants within or alongside the wetlands. Kawainui Marsh is full of a rich Hawaiian history that allows natives to get a sense of being and connect with their past. The historical agricultural usage, along with the religious practices that took place in the wetlands area, are a big part of Hawaii's history and what makes us Hawaiians. When thinking about the conservation and future of Kawainui Marsh and all its native inhabitants, it is important to remember the olala no eau, he ali'u no ka'aina, he ka'ua no ke kanaka, meaning the land is chief and man is its servant.